Hello everyone, I'm Brian. Welcome back. Let's continue.
So that at least a few of you must have been wondering that, right, this session is telling me why I'm not advancing in my spiritual way, because I have not been running fully after my desires. No, you are already running fully after desires. You are just in a hypocritical way, not acknowledging. The difference between you and the seers of Rigveda is not that they were desirous and you are less desirous. The difference is that they were innocent and you are not. They were innocent, honest, and they just acknowledged that, yes, I do want protection. I do want a long life. I do want a disease free body. I do want my clan, my tribe to expand. I do want victory over my adversaries. They acknowledged it, that they said, this is what I want. Interestingly, the initial parts of the Vedas do not talk of liberation. They do not say that I want. They said these are the things that I want. Good life, healthy body. I must live very long. I must have lots of milk and butter to consume, and also meat. There are places where the Vedas talk very liberally of meat of all kinds. They say, I want all these things, like the common man. They don't say that I want liberation. So the difference is not that there is desire over there and there is lesser desire over here. The difference is that we are hypocrites. We desire and yet we pretend that we do not, because we are afraid. They are not afraid. They are real dudes. They said, if I want something, I'll go out and announce. If I want something, I'll go out and announce, yes, I want it, fine. And that's the reason why ultimately they saw their wants getting dissolved. Whereas most of us, inwardly, there are just so many desires, boiling, boiling, boiling. A melting pot of desires. That's what our being is. Desires coming from all kinds, melting, fusing into one. But outwardly we pretend that we are religious, spiritual, moral, whatnot. And that has happened with all the Indic religions. That's the case with, in fact, religions in general. Everywhere it's the same case. It's difficult to find a bigger hypocrite than the religious man. He wants all the things that the irreligious man or the atheist does, but he pretends that he does not. So what does he create? He creates back doors and underground tunnels to fulfill his desires in the dark of the night.
I was going to ask, I wasn't, I'm not understanding what it's saying here. As in, maybe I can't relate to it, but I was also thinking to myself, that can't be. This is something that I should be able to relate to, and maybe because perhaps haven't done it in a long time or something. But whenever he spoke this part, that started to make a lot more sense. Um, he's talking about how, I guess the earlier people were innocent, but they were straightforward with what they want. I guess I've always been straightforward with what I want, but I don't know. Like I just don't know how. I couldn't relate to it for some odd reason. I don't know why. And like I said, it's perhaps because of what happened in college when I took the world religion class and realized that life is suffering. So when that happened, I my entire perspective changed in life, where I try to understand things, so I don't suffer as much. So when I desired something, I understood I desired it, and it's not like how do I say? It's not like it was a need. So I understood that if I didn't get it, it's fine because it's something I just desire or something I just want. And it's not something that I need. So I never suffered necessarily from my desires. Sure, I wanted something, but I understood I couldn't get it. Maybe that's the reason why I don't quite understand him. And then I was trying to think, like, obviously, in a child, we want a lot of things, and we suffered if we didn't get it. So I don't know if, like, maybe it's been far too long, I think, since I wanted something. But even then, when I was a child, there wasn't a lot of things that I necessarily wanted, honestly. So maybe I didn't have a lot of desire in my life. There were things or wanted in my life. Because I remember when I was growing up, I couldn't afford much. So renting like video games was like a thing, like Blockbuster. I'm sure that's quite familiar with a lot of people. But I understood that renting costs money. Also, mind you, we didn't rent at Blockbuster. We rented at another place that you only get like 20, in a sense, 24 hours for it. But as you get out of school late, I wanted to rent a game, but we couldn't get there in time. Then when it becomes like late at night, it's like there's no point in renting it because I won't have enough time. So forget about it. I even when I was young, I was wise. Well, listen, wise about kind of about time and stuff. So even though I wanted to play it, but I came to understand that it's better if I don't get it now and wait till I can get it earlier so I can have a longer time playing it. It's not like I'm losing it. I'm just being somewhat smart about when to get it. I don't know, and but the about the explanation of the priest here, it made sense to me. Like where if there's something that you want, you put up this front of like, oh, I'm above that, but then you find ways of like, well, this will be okay once, or like you do it behind the public's eye in a sense where no one knows. So I understood that part.
Pakhand. Wanting the same thing, but not having the guts to
Admit it.
acknowledge. Self-observation, Atma Vidya, is about having guts to see what lies within. It's not difficult to see, it's difficult to acknowledge. Do you understand this? Not difficult to see. How is it difficult to see? These are your own insides. How can it be difficult to see? You are the experiencer of all your desires, are you not? If you do not know, who does? Nobody knows better than you the kind of desires that keep forming within. We are not blind. We are just dishonest. We know. We do not acknowledge. That acknowledgement is everything. And that's why I ask you to post your reflections on the community. And that's why you dread posting reflections. Because you know that your fact is too terrible to be posted. Do you understand why there is such a low rate of your posts on the community? And several of you are so smart that they have found ingenious shortcuts. They take my words and post there. That's their reflection. Some of them don't even bother to take my words. They simply take my posters and put there. And they say, now we are unblocked. You might be unblocked on the community. You will not be unblocked in life. Some say, sheer genius. The fellow says, posting for unblocking. Genius. That's where you are stuck. You know the hellhole that your insides are. I just want you, I request you to be bold enough to accept that. If you will not accept that you are stuck in hell, there is no way you can move out. It's not at all coincidental that you do not want to reflect. And it's not just about, members of the community, the general members, even people within the foundation. Rarely do they post anything of any consequence. On the other extreme are people who appear like pouring their hearts out. But that too is a way of deception, because you are writing so much just so that the writing substitutes for being. I have written so much and that is enough. Now I don't need to change. See, I have done so much. What have you done? Written. And that suffices. There are those who block change by not writing at all. And there are those who substitute change with writing too much. Maya, maa thagini hum jani. Now what do I do? I'm helpless in this regard. Sometimes I just chuck it all away and say, fine. Let me just thrash someone and have a good time and go to sleep. How much can one waste oneself on people who just are determined to stay where they are? Getting it? The more you are inwardly conscious of your internal rot, the more you will be afraid of opening up to life. The more you will remain guarded. It's not that you are an introvert. The bigger reason is that you have secrets to hide. And the society has said, if you tell the others about your weaknesses and the rot and all the disease and everything, then that person will look unfavorably at you. So your social standing, your self-worth is gone. And that's the problem. The Lok Dharma, the Lok Sanskriti, the culture we are brought up in, it places too much value on the way people look at us. The reason why we become dishonest.
I'm gonna disagree a little bit. I get kind of what he's saying. So here's how I understood it, and here's my reasoning why. So, um, how you act and what you do kind of, in a lot of sense, puts a value on you. We're judged every day. There's no point in lying, saying, "Oh, I don't judge people." You do. Everyone does. There's nothing necessarily wrong with it. It depends on how you handle that judgment, in my opinion. If someone is constantly lying, are you going to say, "No, he's lied 100% of the time. I will trust him this time"? No, you're going to be a fool. Don't get me wrong. If he's lied a lot, you can give him a chance. But you're going to be cautious around him. You're going to start slow, small and slow on trust. You're not going to trust him with your life immediately. You're not going to trust him with your vehicle if he needs to borrow it. No. You're going to trust him with little things. Trust that he'll be on time. Trust that he'll watch the piece of paper and make sure it doesn't fly away. Small little things to build up trust. But the reason why we have these values or the reason why we self worth, and the reason why we have this kind of values because this is how we kind of judge people, understand people. If a person is bad, then that's going to get known in society. Now, hopefully, I'm understanding him correctly. And and it kind of gets spread. Like it kind of happens a lot in your circles and stuff. You find out about someone or something, and your good friends. Hopefully, your good friends will let you say, "Hey, look, this person has done some terrible things." Or this person just all of a sudden did this thing, and I'd be careful. You know, your friends should warn you about bad people. And with those bad people, generally speaking, they have done bad things. Now, again, unless your friend's lying, now and that's a problem with you and how you obtain your friends in a sense. But there's a reason for these things. It's kind of like what Sadhguru says that a lot of things that we do in terms of our life is for survival purposes. If a person is not trustworthy, then you don't really trust them to do anything because you could put your survival at risk. And you may think that's a little stupid, but it's a lot of sense it's a truth because you cannot trust him to watch over your life or anything like that to tell you if there's something wrong, or he could be using you to get you removed from the picture for their own benefit. So you can't trust them. That's the reason for that social stuff. Can we look beyond that? Absolutely, we can, but it's something that we can never get rid of, and it's something that we have to acknowledge. It's not to say that that person cannot change, but there's a reason why someone has obtained their social status in the first place. It's because of what they've done in the past. We are creatures of habit. We tend to repeat what we do. And yes, we can change, but not everyone changes, and that's kind of where this social status and things happen. Where it's like, well, he lied to me. He said he was going to change. He never did. He's still the same person. So whenever he says, "Oh, I'm going to change. I promise," this time, and then he lied again, then you get the reason for the certain things that you hear about certain people. I hope you get the idea behind it. It's that there's a reason why we have this. It's like you said, it could be a good or bad thing. Like for people who regret what they've done, who seeks penance, they're going to be judged harshly just because of what they have done. But there's a reason behind it. Generally speaking, things that happen in the world, there's generally speaking a reason behind these actions and things that happen. It's not just, it doesn't just pop out of nowhere. So, and actually, that's a thing too. I've thought about a few times is that um, I'm start to I'm starting to believe this. Here's a pretty deep one. That there's no such thing as luck, and there's no such thing as coincidences. Everything happens for a reason. Now, the reason is not external necessarily, or not external, or not external influenced by external forces. But it is influenced by forces and human forces or nature forces or space forces or whatever has influenced it. What I mean by space force is that you're walking outside in the backyard one day, all of a sudden the comet hits the dirt in front of you. You're like, oh crap, that changed my life. And then you might start seeing life differently, but the source of that change was the comet. Was it luck that it didn't hit you? No, that comet literally had a trajectory. If you and you literally stop there for a reason. It's not luck. It's a bit of a far stretch, anyways. But I hope you understand what I'm saying. Anyways, I'm starting to believe that there's no such thing as luck. I do believe that people claim luck on a lot of things, but I have an explanation why I don't believe in luck. Someone can destroy my argument if they want, for sure. And then also coincidences. I don't believe in that either. Because, anyways, different video.
Not that we are liars. An environment is created in which lying becomes necessary.
I get it. You want to have this good
If
look
the
on you.
fellow in front of you is someone who cannot stand the facts, what is he incentivizing you to do? He is incentivizing you to lie. And that's the kind of environment that exists in the society.
Hmm.
If you just expose the facts, there will be disdain and discarding and disapproval. Whereas you are considered respectable and acceptable if you just keep presenting pleasant lies. Is that not what most youngsters do to their parents? I mean, come on. When you speak to your parents on phone, do you disclose facts? Really? Not that you really want to lie. It's just that the fact would be unacceptable there, even though it's such a harmless fact, nothing. I'm there in the shopping mall. The fact is this. But it's 10 p.m. And mama, coming from a Vaishnav background, thinks that, the girl should be back maximum by 4 p.m. 10 p.m. is Armageddon. Worse than World War III. So she will ask, "Yeah, what is this loud music blaring in the background?"
Just
No, no,
listen
mama,
to
it's my
music.
roommate.
Yeah.
Nothing. He's sitting at an eatery. That's all. Now, what's so scandalous about an eatery? But mama cannot accept it. So you're forced to lie.
I wouldn't say you're forced to lie. I get what he's saying. Essentially, she wants to have this look in front of people, whether it's to her parents or to her friends, that like she's proper, good, and well behaved. And my example went a little bit on the extreme side, but still, again, you hear these things like, okay, she lies, so you know she lies, so you have a chance that she might be lying to you at certain points. So again, my example still is very valid, but there's a reason why we do certain things. There's a reason why we have this culture. It's the fact that you know, imagine you are the friend that's next to her, and he's like, "Why are you lying to your mother?" And I'm not playing the music. We're out in the mall. Why don't you just tell her? It's not a big deal. It's like, oh, but she wanted to be at home at 4:30. So one, she doesn't listen to her mother necessarily, and one, she lies. So it's like, well, my gosh, you start to question like, well, have you ever lied to me before? She could say no, or she could say yes, and then you're like, still, well, good lord, you know, she could be lying by saying no to keep that good face again. She could be saying yes, and then you're like, well, what did she lie to me about? And will she continue to lie? Reasons behind it. And I completely understand what he's trying to say. Again, we're trying to put on this goody two shoe type of face in front of everyone that makes us look good, even though it's lying.
And continuously lying to others, it becomes a habit to lie to yourself. And that's why I become so angry at parents. The ones who do not know life and yet try to bring one more life to this world.
Hmm?
They teach you to lie, though they will ostensibly tell you, always speak the truth. But through their sanctions and beliefs and rigid opinions, they are the ones who train you into all kinds of lies, and you become a habitual liar. And
Oh, sorry. Now that I do not understand, why are you blaming the parents for this? They do not control their children. They can tell them to do certain things. They can punish their children for certain things, but outside of that, they don't control the brain of the child or the body of the child.
a liar. And then that habit of lying turns inwards also. You just forget Continuously you are telling others, continuously. You didn't take the shower in the morning. But since the morning, 40 times you have told 40 respectable persons that you have taken a bath. By the time you reach evening, you would have forgotten that you have not taken a bath. And you will start believing, actually, within yourself, that you did take the shower in the morning. That's how it happens.
I'm assuming here he's talking about eventually you'll start believing in even your own lies, not the fact that, because eventually, don't get me wrong, not taking a shower, the truth eventually comes out and not in a pleasant manner. But I guess the whole point of this is the fact that, and it's kind of interesting, and what he said here now just made me thought of a lot of things in America about the left and the right, where they start to believe even in their own lies. And then the biggest thing is when you question them about it, it's like, okay, tell me what it is, or try to get them to be specific. They break down, they cry, they get angry, all these things because you question what they believe. And when their belief starts to break down, they get mad, they get angry.
One of the markers of good company is you don't have to lie there. Good company is where even your worst part is not frowned upon.
I don't know. Like I 100% agree with the first part where you can be completely honest, you don't have to lie. That is great. So,
One of the markers of good company is you don't have to lie there.
good company means you don't have to lie to your partner. I don't say that's necessarily good company per se, but a company that you trust. You could absolutely, in a sense, I won't say detest someone. You could not be good friends with someone, but you can trust them. But I guess in order to trust someone, you have to be kind of good in good standings with them. So I don't know if there is a situation there where you can hate someone but you trust them. Like they've never betrayed you, but you hate them because you don't like the kind of person they are. They're a goody two shoes, but at the same time, he's completely honest and he's never betrayed you. I don't know if that's possible, but to trust someone, you have earned something from them. And the reason why is because lie means you're hiding something, and if you're not having to hide anything from this person, it means you trust them. I 100% agree with that. That a good company is someone that it's not necessarily that they're not judgmental, but you can be honest with them. And the thing that you hope that they can do to you is that they can be honest with you as well. So the second part is where I'm about to disagree.
Good company is where even your worst part is not frowned upon.
Now, I'm sure there is an asterisk here, which I'm about to say. It's the fact that maybe you made bad mistakes in the past, but how to say this? You're not necessarily judged upon it. Meaning that they're not going to be your friends because of the mistake you made. But what they'll do is they'll acknowledge the fact that you've done something bad, but still want to become your friend because you know that you're a good person. That's still judgment, in my opinion, because obviously it's not forgotten about or anything. But the real thing I was thinking of was the fact that if I have a bad habit, like smoking and stuff, I want someone to say something. If it's something bad or terrible, obviously, I want someone to say something to hopefully to get me to change a bad habit, like smoking, or like I don't know, spending money. I guess is a bad habit. Um, or I'm trying to think of bad habits. I'm sure there's plenty out there. Drinking too much beer, alcohol in general, smoking too much. I already said that one. I don't know, just things that are generally speaking, generally not good for you. smoking and alcohol, too much of alcohol. Here, one or two is not all that bad, honestly. As long as you're not, drunk and you're not driving, obviously. Smoking, regardless of how much you smoke, it's not really great for your lungs. So the sad thing about that is that smoking is just completely bad for you. Drinking one beer, not necessarily bad for you. In some instances, I've heard it might be okay to drink like one. Could be healthy. I don't know. I'm not a doctor or a nutritionist. But anyways, I want someone to speak up and tell me in a sense, anytime I believe, you can correct me if I'm wrong here, that anytime someone says something to you that's not exactly flattering per se, or not exactly in a positive, maybe even in the positive, they're judging you. A positive judgment and negative judgment, but judgment has always been seen in the negative, never in the positive. It's like, oh my gosh, you're so good at that. That's in a sense judging you, but in the positive sense. And I think, unless I'm wrong on this, but generally speaking, I do believe judgment to be judging someone, meaning whether they're good at it or bad at it. But judgment in society has always been seen as a negative, never really in the positive. Whenever someone gets offended, it's like, stop judging me. But they never say that whenever it's a positive judgment because they want to hear that. They don't want to hear the negative. So, um, and there's good company where your worst part's not frowned upon. I would say, like, if my worst part's just me smoking, I think being frowned upon the smoking part can be okay, in my opinion. It's not to say that you'd become not friends with me or anything, but you'd hope that I would, do something to better my health. I'd continue to be your friend. Like, for example, if it's you that's smoking, I would have judgments like, man, you do need to stop or at least slow down. I'd feel better if you slow down and completely stop rather than the smoking the 12 packs a day or whatever it is. So I'd say in good company, it's not necessarily that, you're frowned upon. How to say? The highly negative portion of the frowned upon. I hope bad behavior is frowned upon so that we can correct our behavior to be good. I guess that's the whole point I'm talking about. Is the fact that in good company they'll tell you if you're doing something bad, genuinely bad, not because it's their opinion, not because they don't like it, but generally speaking, bad. Smoking, hitting people, being a complete a-hole to everyone, bad stuff like that. Where it's like, oh man, I don't like you when you take off your socks, man. That's a little bit different. That's personal. But I hope bad behavior is frowned upon. That way, hopefully, we can correct our behaviors. Now, again, you can say it could be subjective and stuff, pretty much so. But obviously, the genuine bad behavior, smoking too much, it's not really bad behavior per se, it's just a bad habit. Being a complete a-hole to people, bad behavior, that should be frowned upon. Um, Being just mean for no reason, which is essentially bad behavior too. You understand? Hopefully, you understand what I'm saying.
If anything is frowned upon, it is dishonesty. If you lie about something that you did, then the other might frown, and that is okay. But he will not frown upon what you did. He will frown upon the fact that you hid what you did. These are two very different things, right?
Depends on what it's lying about. It's got to be pretty bad for him to lie. Like, imagine if he hit an innocent person in the face just because he didn't like the way that person looked. That should be frowned upon too. The fact that he did a terrible behavior, not just because he also hit it. I hope, right?
One is doing something what you can call as bad, and the other is hiding it. A good relationship is where you're not supposed to hide things. The articles of association of the partnership do not include a clause that says we will present agreeable faces to each other. You can present your most disagreeable self to the other, and all that the other would say is, I will help you in overcoming it. He will not
Hmm.
say, no, no, no. If it exists, hide it. I'm not
Exactly.
strong enough to accept that you have a face like that. The fellow says, I'm strong enough to accept whatever follies you carry. And then I'm also strong enough to lend you a hand to overcome all that.
Absolutely.
I'm not saying that the fellow should say, okay, fine, I have seen your ugly and evil face and let it remain that way. He's not saying this. What is he saying? He's saying, first of all, yes, like a doctor, I'm all right with you exposing the disease to me, right? You go to a doctor and you expose some rotten part of your body to the doctor, and the doctor says, what? Nonsense, rascal, bastard, get lost. What kind of doctor is that? And anything can be there, you know. We are very colorful people. You go to a gynecologist and the gynecologist just explodes. He says, what have you done? Where have you done? I'm not a doctor, I'm a priest. Doctor, first of all, is fine with looking at your reports, your body, whatever it is. Even if your numbers are way off the mark, something should be within some 3 units of something, and your report says it is instead of 3 units, it is 3,000 units. The doctor will not run away, nor will the doctor shoot you in the head, nor will he call the police. The doctor will say, fine, I have seen this, now I will treat you.
Help.
That's a marker of a good relationship. You can come and be naked in front of me. You don't need to hide or pretend. And after that, it's not that I will say remain this way. Now that I have known your weakness, your suffering, I'll assist you in overcoming it. You're getting it. The right relationship with desire. And it is because of this right relationship that the Vedas finally climax into the Upanishads. Had they not had the right relationship, the Upanishads would have been difficult to come. It is possible that posterity will remember only the Upanishads. It is very much possible that the Vedas will be remembered only through the Vedant and as Vedant. It is possible, but still, we must remember that the credit belongs to the entire process, not just the fruit. The credit belongs to the entire tree, not just the fruit. Though obviously no one brings the entire tree home. What do you bring home?
The
Just
fruit
the fruit. That's fine. That's fine. Bring
and
home the
leaves.
Upanishads, but also maintain a certain gratitude to the Vedas. That's fine. Now, that's the context in which the current verse reveals itself. Sri Krishna is saying that the knower, the Jnani, the Brahmagyani, the Brahmagya, who is being represented as the Brahman here. Brahman not as a particular varna or caste, but as Brahmagya, the knower of Brahma. He does not have much to do with the Vedas. That's what this verse is saying today. In a poetic flourish, Sri Krishna puts it this way. He says, if the entire surface of the whole planet were covered with water, how much would a sane person have to do with a limited pool of water? If there is an infinite supply of water on this planet, how much would a sane person or a jnani have to do with a small pool or pond? How much? Not much. He says that's how much the knower must have to do with the Vedas. But this is addressed to the knower, the Jnani. The Jnani. You getting it? I'll read it aloud. If the earth is completely drowned in water, obviously, then the kind of use one has of small wells, lakes, pools, etc., the self aware, the Atmajnani, has only that much concern with the Vedas. Now, this verse is set at the point of deboarding. It applies only to those who boarded, completed, and now they must deboard. It does not apply to those who have not even reached the airport, who are still snoring in their beds. This does not apply to those. He said, once you have totally taken in the Upanishads, so much so that the Upanishads have gone in and reduced you, dissolved you, you have become the Upanishads, then things that deal with fulfillment of desire and all these gods and goddesses and Prakriti, you are left with not much to do with them. You get this? You are beyond that now. That's the whole thing about the path of knowledge. Knowledge meaning self-knowledge. Once you know what lies within, then what lies outside does not remain as significant, as important, as compelling, as charming, and as overpowering and overwhelming anymore. And that is freedom. Who wants to be overpowered? Desire is actually when an object overpowers you. It takes control of you. It starts deciding, dictating your steps, your moves and maneuvers. That's desire. An object getting totally on top of you. So you have your life. You have your life that is full of desires.
That's actually an interesting way of looking at desire, that it in a sense takes over your body, which is again kind of hilarious because it's very much true. When you desire something, you really want it, you'll do anything to get it. And I have in a sense it has like a control over you. I've never thought about objects of desire that way, but I've thought about words that offend people. That if a word offends you, that word has control over you. Because if that word didn't have control over you, then you wouldn't care about that word, whatever the word happens to be. Whatever word offends you, that word has mastery over you. Because the second that word comes up, you're triggered. You're upset, you're mad, whatever it is. I've thought about that, but desire as a way of controlling you is very much similar. It's just obviously not offensive, but more of a drive to want something. You become in a sense, a slave to it. Another thing to add to my arsenal. And also, just to go back to what I said earlier, apparently the thing that I said is essentially what he said the second part about the doctor. I was like, okay, you revealed your disease to me, now let me help you. So yes, we're still judgmental in a sense, not in a super negative way, but at least we want to help them. We want to help them in whatever they did that was wrong, to help them become a better person or better at whatever they did, so they don't do something negative again.
Right? Now your purpose is to go to the Upanishads. The Karmakand part won't teach you much. Why? Because what you find there is something that you already have. What do you find there? Poetic play of desires. Can I get this? Can I get that? But that is something that you already have. That's the point you already are at. No? Are you not doing the same things? Are you already not doing the same things? So, what kind of spiritual progress can you get by repeating what you're already doing? The Upanishads stand at a point that's higher than you. They will be of help. No kind of nature worship is going to help you. No kind of ideation, mentation, image worship is going to help you, because that is something that you are already doing. Are you not worshipping images? Come on. One day I'll be the CEO. What are you worshipping? Think the image of the CEO, because you are not the CEO right now. But what do you have? An image of the CEO. So image worship is something you are already doing. What can you gain by worshipping a few more images? Nature worship is something you're already doing. Are you not? Everything is Prakriti. So even that palace of your dreams is Prakriti. So that's nature worship. And for young people, everything is Prakriti. So the body of your beloved again is, and that's what you worship, right? In the name of love, the body. So we are already nature worshippers. Be it money, be it prestige, or be it sex, what are we worshipping? Prakriti.
Would food and water be included in that? Food, water, and shelter be included in that? I know he did talk about the wants in the very one of the I think the very beginning of this. Would that be Prakriti as well? Prestige, money.
If you are already doing that, no point repeating that. So that cannot be religion then. Because religion is supposed to take you from a point where you are to a point where you are not. Religion is not about circumambulating your own current place. If you are here and your lok dharmic processes are about, Babaji is nodding again and getting offended. You are here, right? And if your lok dharm is about, how will it help you? You are already here. So the religion that you need is of the Upanishads, not of Karmakand. That's what Sri Krishna is teaching Arjun here. Arjun, what will you do with the Vedas? And when Sri Krishna says Vedas, what does he mean here? Karmakand. In fact, still there is a school of thought that does not include the Upanishads in the Vedas. They say only the mantras are the Vedas. In fact, chances are if you go and if you buy a copy of the Vedas, it may not include the Upanishads. Because in the popular mind, the Upanishads are separate. So if you go and if you say, oh, fine, Rigved, they'll give you Rigved without the Upanishads. So when Sri Krishna is saying, how much can you have to do with the Vedas? He is discarding the Karmakand part. Because that is what is typically called the Ved. Are you getting it? Ved to you should mean Vedant, Upanishad. And that's coming from no lower a source than Krishna himself. Krishna himself is saying, and you have uh, seen this being addressed earlier as well, where he was saying, if your mind is full of all the uh, verses of the Vedas that deal with desire fulfillment, you will never come to understand what I am telling you, Arjun. Remember that verse? Who are the people who never understand Krishna? The ones whose minds are full of karma kand. If your mind is full of karma kand, Sri Krishna himself has very clearly said, you will never understand the Gita. Because karma kand deals with desire. Whatever you do for the sake of desire. So you are going, right? And circumambulating a tree, parikrama. Is that nishkam ever? Let's say all those women who are doing it, ask them, why are you doing it? And they'll tell you, the reason is this will give me something. My husband will get some long life from this. There is desire. There is no ritual, not a single ritual that is not associated with. And the central message of Gita is desirelessness. And that's why Lokdharma and Gita do not go together, because Lokdharma is all about desire fulfillment. You create gods who are supposed to fulfill desires. Full stop.
Mm, maybe not exactly. I mean, I get what he's saying. We create these gods because we want our desires fulfilled. Absolutely. But I will say this. I know there's been people out there. Obviously, that's what they want to happen. They want everything to go their way. However, I do believe there are some people out there who do work. Oh, that's a bad, terrible pause for him. Okay, let's leave it like that. There are people out there who genuinely also say, you know what, I'll give it 110% and let God handle the rest. If it's my favorite, it's my favorite. If it's not, it's not. And but I will say this: I do believe the overwhelming majority of people worship through desire. I do believe that genuinely. But there are genuine people, is probably a significantly less and rare amount of them, that actually genuinely worship and let their deity handle the outcome of it, and they are willing to accept any outcome that their deity gives, even if it's bad for them. They say it's bad for me. What can I do? They'll it's kind of like they'll still give it 110%, but obviously of whatever they can do legally, and and then again let everything what they cannot control, they let their deities handle it. What they can control, they'll work 110% for it. But that's all we can really do in life. So, and how do I translate that with again with the my college class with Buddhism is that give 110% but expect nothing. So do your best, but don't have desires, don't have attachments, don't expect a reward for it. That's very hard to do. But I've come to that understanding, and I won't say completely, but I have come to that understanding during that college class. And a lot of things, or at least some things, that has happened for me, where I did my best and I hoped that I did great, but accepted the results of it. Or, yeah, whatever results happen to be. As a matter of fact, I do remember when I was more of a child, doing my test, and giving it my best and hoping and praying that I pass.
Think of a single god who does not fulfill desires, god or goddess. Therefore, Gita does not talk of gods and goddesses. Gita talks of yourself, aham, and says the aham has to look into itself and be gone. You can take this as a community exercise. 10 rituals that you know of and the desires they are supposed to fulfill. 10 rituals that are practiced at your place or region, house, locality, religion, whatever. Take 10 rituals and in front of each write the desire that they are supposed to fulfill. And you'll be amazed. Not a single ritual is about desirelessness. The next verse is one of the juiciest we can get in the Gita. So I resisted my temptation to come too early to it. Though the current verse we had taken up in some way in the previous session also.
I resisted the temptation. He resisted the desire. Sorry, I find it kind of funny because he's talking about the desire, and how is he resisting it now for the next verse?
Next verse is special. We'll come to it in the next session.
Okay, I do have kind of a question about the Babaji. I guess that's what he calls it. The little statue all the way next to the cup. What does what does that? I guess he says it's a bobblehead, I believe. So if you shake it, the head shakes. What does that represent? What does it mean? And what does it mean to Acharya Prashant? However you interpret that, let me know, because I'm curious. Like it's very I don't know if he's. I'm trying to think of all the other videos I've watched of his. I don't remember him ever bringing up the bobblehead before. But then again, this is a relatively newer video, so it could be something recent. But I'm curious, what does it mean? What does it represent both in itself and to from Acharya Prashant itself himself? So that's my reaction to Krishna warning to Arjuna. If you like my content, please consider subscribing, thumbs up the sign down below. Thanks for watching. I will see you in the next vid.